Today we have a crazy amount of crypto news, and in this video I want to go over all the most important news in just a couple of minutes, and if we have some time later today I'll actually go dive a little bit deeper into all these different subjects, but there's a ton of very important stuff that you need to be aware of. Now guys, if you want to get some idea of what I'm going to talk about in the next video, I recommend you guys to follow me over on Twitter, as I usually press the like button on a lot of things I think are important to cover. However, JP Morgan, quote, while the news of the collapse of FTX is empowering crypto skeptics, we would point out that all of the recent collapses in the crypto ecosystem have been from centralized players and not from decentralized protocols. And it's actually interesting. Again, the US mid and small cap banks Crypto Banking Weekly, collapse of FTX might prove to be the catalyst that moves the utility value of crypto 2 steps forward. And moreover, while the news of the collapse is empowering crypto skeptics, again, it's centralized entities that are having trouble, which is funny because a lot of the media is trying to push it that crypto is bad, crypto is unsafe, but in reality, this is basically like a bank doing some really bad money management. It doesn't necessarily have too much to do with crypto, unless you talk about the whole lending system, but in theory, again, that could have been some internal token. It's just, well, it had some crypto connection. Now, a little bit of news that did not actually come from a Ripple XRP related account. Ripple is apparently seeking an Ireland license, plans for some European expansion. People have been calling out that it's in the preparation for them losing the lawsuit. I don't think that's the case. I think it's just quite obvious if you have the opportunity to expand as massively as you can. And apparently they're trying to do that now over in Ireland with a license. It's also a little bit iffy with like, well, you're always seeking for as many licenses in as many countries as possible. Right now they're just focusing on that one, or potentially they've gotten one step closer to actually obtaining it. Grayscale said security concerns are the reason it's refusing to release on-chain evidence of its crypto reserves, which again makes a little bit of sense as well. The moment that they do, people can start tracking it significantly, and maybe some of the sleuths already know exactly all the details of it. But a lot of people don't, and the moment that they release this information, it's basically in the public domain, and that might not actually be a smart thing. Instead, sharing a letter from Coinbase's Custody service attesting to its crypto holdings for its investment products. And there things become scary. I'd assume that Coinbase Custody, right, there's basically a part of Coinbase that allows them to hold your assets for you. It is still, I believe, in a system of your keys, your coins, but they just help you manage them. I do wonder how that would go, though, if Coinbase were to disappear, because I'm saying, if they are your custody provider, I'm assuming you have your keys, but then if you have your keys anyway, then what's the point of them doing the custody over you if you're gonna basically control everything yourself anyway? Is it just so that they have it quote unquote stored? But then if you're getting the keys, then it's the same thing as you getting it stored. But then I guess there's gonna be some sort of additional multi-signature layers on it anyway, which then makes me think, why is it a security concern if you have a proper multi-signature setup? So it's just been confusing to me. And I'm thinking if they have some very big wallets, like 1 or 2 or 3 wallets, for example, for their Bitcoin, people have found it out anyway. So I'm like, maybe they just don't want to make it public, but it's interesting. All right, there's been some criticism over Cardano. I know, guys, I'm going through the news in a rapid pace. A lot of different news, a lot of different subjects, but I'm just covering everything that I thought was really interesting. Cardano to launch new privacy blockchain and token. And Monero and a couple of major projects were actually very much against this, because apparently what Cardano is planning to do is give you some additional privacy features. Again, privacy, blockchain, and token. Interesting, right? However, and Monero was a really big skeptic of this, they will still have a backdoor option for the major Fed places, so to speak. So in theory, it's only as safe as the outside can look at it. So it's like Monero, again, the official Monero account says it has a backdoor. It's not private, dead on arrival. It's just not really useful because some of the auditors and whatever can look back into it. The system will walk in the line between preserving privacy and allowing regulators and auditors a backdoor into the system when permission is granted, he said. So it's basically like, well, it's private unless people want access to it, then it's public, which to me means kind of nothing, because then it's not private, you know? It's just so your neighbor cannot see your transaction, which is necessary, I think, for the future of things. You don't want people to be able to see every single transaction, every single detail of it. And I guess it makes logical sense as well that the front end basically should be private and the back end should be open, but it's not going to really appeal to the privacy maxis, and it's not really going to appeal to others because a lot of them don't really care. But we'll see. Yeah, this is just kind of funny. It's not really interesting. Sam Bankman-Fried personally took $300 million out of the $420 million raised in FTX 2021 funding round, Wall Street Journal reports. There's actually a lot of different critical pieces about Sam Bankman-Fried and what he did with loans. Again, I think for those parts, I'll make a video later today going deeper into them. And the same thing goes for this news regarding Gary Gensler. He's basically getting some sort of investigation right now. It's not a full-on investigation, but people are speculating that it's going to become a deeper thing. Be careful, Caroline the femme. Per this article, Gensler is planning to throw you under the bus for his failures with FTX because it was a derivatives exchange. Forewarned is forearmed. And that's basically the fact that he is not going to be questioned about it. He wants to question others about what went wrong. When in reality, he had the best connection with FTX and with the guys. So it's really kind of funny. And I keep laughing at these pieces. It's just too funny. The fact that Gary Gensler just walking around like, oh, look at me, I'm big man, I'm big boss. And nobody's really going after him. I don't understand why. But I guess that's politics for you, right? There was a little discussion with Uphold. It was speculated that Uphold stopped trading for XRP, stopped this, that. I don't really understand why there would be anything happening to them. All I know is John Dean had a little talk with them, and he says, I can tell you one thing that isn't going to be a New York Times, Washington Post, or Forbes powder puff discussion. We'll discuss facts and how we got here, the role of the U.S. regulators like Gary Gensler, an inept Congress, and why the Ripple XRP case has always been ground zero. And that's, again, one thing I think everybody should understand. This whole Ripple case is way more important than things seem. And from another side, again, first she got to the bottom of Bitcoin, and now she's going to drill down the FTX. What an utter banana republic embarrassment the UASE has become. It's all about the politic game about FTX and everything around there. There's so much going on. There's absolutely so much going on, so we need to dive in deeper. But I think that will take a little bit of time to give you guys a good little overview for. Because again, you can just see how many different pieces of news I have about partially Ripple and partially about the whole Gary Gensler situation. There's just absolutely too much. What you need to understand, though, is that people right now, are understanding that everything is quite unfair. They know that something kind of shady happened somewhere. They just don't know exactly where the shady stuff happened, who to blame, and what the consequences should be or are going to be. I still would like to say, guys, make sure you press that like button if you enjoy these daily crypto videos. Ripple/XRP fighting a proper battle with the SEC. The SEC is in the middle between FTX and saying, no, it was somebody else that did it wrong. It's really interesting to watch. Cardano new blockchain, or at least new idea. It's going to be very interesting to see them release that. I think it's quite important. There's been some issues with all the companies that are FTX related, and many other companies have said now that the wake of this might be way worse than we had initially anticipated. Kind of like CZ had already warned us for as well. And guys, I'm going to, from tomorrow on forward, post some higher quality videos yet again with a little bit of editing, cooler stuff. Look forward to that as well. And I'll see you guys again in another crypto video later today.